Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kirk Wilson. I'm the fire chief for the Rockton Fire Protection District, and I'm currently the incident commander at the Chemtool fire incident located at 1165 Prairie Hill Road in Rockton, Illinois. I'd like to give you a briefing on where fire conditions are currently at to this point. The U.S. Fire Pumps Industrial Firefighting Crew is making progress. They are getting into towards the seat of the fire and hitting many hot spots as we speak right now. So that the progress is very positive at this point. So I just do want to remind residents that you're still going to see smoke. Again, this smoke could linger for probably the next week. That's how long it may take before we don't see any evidence of any smoke in the air. As far as hot spots go, we still have several. We have drones deployed with thermal imaging cameras to give us an idea of where those are. And when those are located, the industrial firefighting crews actually go in and extinguish those hot spots. As far as any environmental concerns right now, it's still, there has been no exposure to any of the waterways at this point in time. The booms, the absorbent booms, still remain in place and will be in place throughout the duration of this incident. So basically that's where we're at in regards to fire control. I do want to reiterate again that I just need to say thank you, and I am deeply, deeply humbled with all of the support and the help that not only the fire department received, but the community received as a whole. We're very happy of the outpouring of support, not only to our fire personnel, but to our Rockton community. And I thank you. I'm deeply humbled. To our Illinois firefighters and our mutual aid box alarm system, our support family there are 167 fire departments that participated with the deployment of not only providing us with resources at the scene, but also fire station coverage to handle our ongoing calls throughout the incident. Once this incident is going, our calls don't stop, they keep going. So we have to get people in from the outside to make sure those are taken care of. And again, I thank those agencies over the last 4 days now that have been a just tremendous help, and we really do appreciate that. So thank you to our Mavis family. State, local, and federal authorities still remain on the scene. IEMA, IEPA, and also law enforcement are still conducting our investigation. At this point in time, I cannot release any information. It's still in the preliminary stages at this point, and I don't have any information that I can provide as to a cause of this catastrophic incident. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Martell, and she will speak in regards to our evacuation order. Dr. Martell.
I want to thank Chief Wilson for his leadership throughout this entire event. We talked about this, we're now moving from the fire suppression really to the environmental event. So over the last 24 hours, sampling of air, water, and land has continued, with an emphasis on the evacuation zone so we can safely return residents and businesses to their premises and facilities and homes. Some of the sampling efforts have been supported by the Illinois EPA, the United States EPA, the Illinois National Guard, Civilian Support Team, the Bureau of Land Management, and the private contractor, CETA. Air quality samples have remained stable without significant changes in levels for volatile organic compounds, carbon monoxide, and hydrogen sulfide, which were all detected below federal regulatory standards. So that has remained stable, so our air quality continues at a very stable standpoint. Samples of ash, debris, and water have been expedited to the Illinois Environmental Protection and U.S. Environmental Protection Agency laboratory, who is working around the clock to analyze the samples. They are currently looking at 40 what we call wipe samples, 9 ash samples, and 16 water samples. Samples of debris and ash from 11 sites were wiped and analyzed in the field. As of this time, 7 of them came back with what we call negative or only background contaminants. At this point, we're really about 50% of samples have completed using the gas chromatography mass spectrometer, and I always say that's kind of a field device. It's kind of like it's not exactly a point of care because it takes about 90 minutes for every test. Each specimen is run one by one. None have indicated any chemicals or substances of concern, which I think is very optimistic. The current analysis is being run. Again, we just completed the sample, I should say, on the Old Settlers Day area, which is outside of the evacuation zone, but we wanted to take a sample because we know there's concern about a very important event that is taking part in this community, and those samples came back negative as well. So field results are being validated and compared to the samples that were submitted through the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency lab as well as the FDA, EPA labs. Again, you think about this, and I kind of come back to some medical testing. It's kind of like a finger stick for your blood glucose versus a laboratory testing to diagnose diabetes. We want to confirm those results. We anticipate that the remaining samples will be completed by the morning hours. The 1 mile evacuation zone will remain in effect, and we want to remind the community that no one is permitted in this area. Attendees to Old Settlers Day should not park in this area for concerns regarding potential contamination and spreading. Our ground is still very dry and kicking up dust and things like that. With parking of cars would not be a good thing to do at this point. The area will be patrolled with support from the Winnebago County Sheriff in support of the Rockton Police Department. And again, I want to remind individuals, we have individuals who have been displaced out of their homes and their livelihoods over the last several days. And so going into those areas that they've not been allowed to return to is disrespectful to them. Please remember that. Remember that these are our community residents, and we want to support them to remain evacuated until we can make sure all of those test results come back. And I'd liken to, if you take out that dust and if it's something that's contaminated and you travel around the county, it's kind of like coronavirus. You're spreading it around. So please, please use extreme caution and adhere to the evacuation zone. To support the response effort, closure of the Rock River to all water activities from the northern end to 1 mile exclusion zone south to the I-9 bridge. Again, we have a response activities going. You heard them talk about the booms and things like that. There are devices and boats out in that water as part of the response. And so people doing recreational boating and things like that really need to stay out of that as well. Our commitment and our goals remain the same to our community. We want to safely return residents and business to their physical dwellings. We want to safely remove the debris and ash from the environment. We want people to be able to resume their normal activities. While the fire and life safety event is under control from the hard work of the MABUS divisions and the firefighters who took this on, the situation has now evolved into an environmental life safety event, and we need to continue to respect that. We understand that our homeowners and our business owners and residents, they're anxious to get back. They've been living in a state of limbo for several days. It's extremely difficult, but we want to return them to as normal a life as possible, as safely as possible, and as quickly as possible. There was also, I want to report on the breach of fire suppression foam into the Rock River. I think many of you have seen some visuals on that. A breach of foam occurred at the northwest area of the site, which was identified this morning. This response to mitigate was immediately put in place. If you see, there were booms placed to contain the foam, and the contractor has been evacuating the foam under EPA guidance. The foam contents are being sampled and are being sent for analysis. So again, very important why we do not want people in the river for recreational purposes in this area. It is an active response. I also am going to turn this now over to Craig Thomas, who is the director, our site scene director for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. We'll talk a little bit about the public transparency updates and the website that's been set up.
I'm Craig Thomas, Federal On-Scene Coordinator with the United States Environmental Protection Agency. EPA is currently continuing its 24-hour air monitoring. Results last night didn't indicate any exceedances except, again, for particulate when there was another minor fire flare-up. The particulate levels were lower than they were the previous night, but still exceeded a little the levels that we were screening against. We are supporting the Old Settlers Days event by conducting real-time air monitoring there during the entire event. And we have posted summary tables of our air monitoring results on our website. It's response.epa.gov /Chemtool fire. Look for those under the documents section. Thank you.